the Super Chief, the Daylight, the Capital Limited, the Empire Builder, the 20th Century Limited. These are all staples in the history of American passenger rail service. The railroads that operated these trains, along with several others, were very fortunate to make quick fortunes off of the skyrocketing popularity of rail travel that accompanied the turn of the century and the following decades. Unfortunately, that just wasn't the case for the humble KCS. The late 1930s found the KCS passenger business in a malnourished and almost desolate state. The railroad's top passenger train at the time, the Flying Crow, was only bringing in less than 0.5% of the railroad's revenue. See, even before the E-units began taking over much of the country's passenger trains, many railroads modernized their equipment with streamlining during the 1930s. The KCS at the time had nothing of the sort. In 1939, Harvey Crowley Couch, president of the Louisiana and Arkansas Railroad, had taken control of the KCS via buying up stocks, and the two companies ended up becoming one. Of course, Kansas City Southern would be kept as the title, but the L&A would continue to operate as a subsidiary. For several of the previous years, Couch modernized several aspects of his own L&A. For the short few months that he was in charge of the KCS, he tried to do the same. In 1939, he had a vision. No more sluggish passenger service that was pulled by a borderline obsolete steam locomotive, but instead a high-speed, streamlined epitome of the future of railroading. EMD had a demonstrator E3 locomotive touring the KCS system, and Couch was so pleased with this engine that he would buy it along with another. In July of 1939, KCS had a pair of E3s in their possession, with a third soon to join them. The first sets of passenger equipment for the soon-to-be Bell were ordered from the Pullman Company. 3 sets would include a standard coach, a dome car that also acted as a mail and baggage coach, a diner car, and the observation car. KCS would also rebuild several of their previously purchased Pullman sleepers to fit right in with the rest of the consist. Now, where would these brand new passenger sets run? Well, with the KCS and L&A now as one body, that means that Kansas City and New Orleans would be connected with one direct rail route. When the Huey P. Long Bridge would open on August 10th of 1940, the passenger trains would soon begin traversing the system. Shortly after opening the bridge that spanned over the Mississippi River, the public relations of the trains went into full swing. A competition would be held. A passenger special carrying Harvey Couch's brother, Pete, who was taking over his brother's position due to his declining health, and Vice President Deramus would depart southbound out of Kansas City and stop in many cities along the system to pick up young women who won local beauty contests. In Louisiana's state capital, Baton Rouge, a final contest would be held to determine who would be Kansas City Southern's official Southern Belle. After a test of looks, personality, and even their dancing skills, partnered with a Civil War veteran who lost his foot in battle, a final decision was made. Miss Margaret Landry of Baton Rouge would be deemed the official Southern Belle of the KCS. Her likeness would be used across all of the marketing, and she would be the face of the Southern Belle. In the beginning of September of 1940, the Belle would have its inaugural train. Couch would have to hand over the presidency to his brother Peter due to his declining health and eventual death in 1941. And 3 years later, the KCS and L&A lines would be taken over by former Vice President William N. Deramus. The Deramus family would continue in fulfilling Couch's vision until the golden years of passenger railroading came to an end in the late 1960s. In '67, the Postal Service would terminate contracts with the railroad. This would be when the KCS would stop looking at passenger service with favor. The final year or so of service only saw a baggage car, coaches, and the observation car on the Belle. Sleepers were no longer included in the consist since the Pullman Company closed down on December 31st, 1968. On November 3rd, the Southern Belle that became an icon across the system would run for one final time in 1969. Today, the Belle's legacy lives on through the standard KCS paint scheme that started showing up in 2007. Along with the freight engines, the business train is a near replica of the former Belle. With CP taking over in the near future, I hope these pieces of equipment will either be utilized by the CP or find a good home that will appreciate them. I hope you enjoyed this short video on some of the history of what I think is one of the most underrated passenger services in the United States. If you did enjoy, leave a like down below, and until next time, thanks for watching the Southern Belle, the sweetheart of American trains.